protecting the environment, Great Lakes, and Energy since January 2019. She oversees a 1,200-person team dedicated to protecting Michigan's environment and public health. Liesl has led an organization which has elevated Michigan's commitment to environmental justice, climate mitigation, and resilience in clean drinking water in the Great Lakes. The newly created offices of the Environmental Justice Public Advocate, Clean Water Public Advocate, and the Climate and Energy, as well as the longstanding Office of the Great Lakes, are now housed in EGLE in the executive office with Clark and her deputies. Expanding and improving EGLE's internal and external communications is a major focus for Clark as she strives to support and inspire the EGLE team, engage stakeholders, meet communities where they are, and better share EGLE's work with Michigan's 10 million residents, whom she refers to as 10 million bosses. Good Lord, I would not want 10 million bosses. Sorry, that's my add into your bio there. Sorry.
I'm going to edit it.
Okay. Now, she has 2 degrees from Michigan State University, and little did I realize back when we were in school together in the marching band that I'd have the opportunity to introduce her tonight at this event. Most recently, we both marched together at the 50th annual performance of the MSU Alumni Band, so we also marched together. And so as the band does accelerate erosion on a field, right, so we're like, it was really rough. By the end of the season, there was like pits and like mud pits and stuff, so I'm thinking maybe that's where you got your initial thrust into the environment. I don't know, like erosion or. So it is truly my pleasure to hear from Liesl tonight about the great work that EGLE's doing in partnership with organizations across the state.
Appreciate it. I'm sure you were going to get some marching band stories in there somewhere, right? So you knew it was going to happen. And you know, it's always bad news when the first speaker says, "You're going to clap for me because I'm going to be brief," and then you're the keynote at the end after everyone's eating dinner, and I don't have any slides. So I'm thrilled to be here, though. You know, actually, Clay came in. Wow, early in my tenure. I remember because Mary Beth's like, "Who, this Clay Keelan guy?" I'm like, "Yep, Clay gets a meeting right away. Yep. And shared about Groundswell, and it was such a cool program, and it's so nice. He's invited me a couple of times, and it's nice, obviously, pandemic issues. It's nice to actually be with all of you and have a chance to talk here tonight. So thank you, and also thank you for the opportunity to be 3D. I was telling my team last week that I had to be the Grinch and like cancel everything. Like nobody can get together. It's got to be mission critical. So you know you're mission critical because I can. So, but glad to be here with you all today. I'm thrilled that we have so many EGLE folks here too. I think that this event shows all the different partnerships coming together, and of course, you know, we hold you in high esteem. Because of the work that we do at EGLE, you know, we think of all of it as really grounded in the lakes. So while we talk about air quality and waste, and we talk about drinking water and all these different pieces, climate work, you know, to us, it all comes back to our beautiful water. Comes back to the fact that we sit in the middle of 20% of the world's surface water, fresh surface water. My comms guy's like, make sure you say surface water. And I know that what you're doing here is really helping us make the most of it. So I'm going to talk a bit about the partnerships between GVSU and EGLE and the vital role K-12 and higher ed plays in the work that we do with the department. And we've heard some of these stories already tonight, but I think I've got a few that maybe you haven't heard yet. So you know us at EGLE, but just to reiterate, we're charged with protecting Michigan's environment and public health by managing air, water, land, and energy resources. So we're up to 1,300. I'm going to have to update my bio. Eileen, 1,301. No, I'm just kidding. We're thrilled because we need a bigger team to serve our 10 million bosses. And some of my team got mad at me for calling people our 10 million bosses, but you are our bosses. We answer to all of you because we are public servants. So in addition to people like me with the liberal arts and public policy and comms backgrounds, we have engineers of all sorts and scientists ranging from geologists to biologists, chemists, physicists, and many other ists than many that you train here. I know you work regularly with our outstanding team, and we've already acknowledged, we've got Chrissy, and we've got Eileen, we've got Michelle. Bob didn't come, I think, is that right? Okay, so you know everybody. I want to make sure that you know to talk to our team. I'm just so proud of the team that I serve with, and I know that that's reflected in your relationships with all of them, which is just, to me, a real key reason that I actually took this job. because a lot of people said, what are you, crazy? So at EGLE, we have 9 different programmatic divisions that do our regulatory work. So air quality, drinking water, groundwater and surface water, sustainable materials management, which includes everything from recycling to overseeing hazardous waste, regulating the oil, gas, and mining industry, and then leading cleanup and redevelopment of contaminated properties. We also have divisions that do our financial and information management needs and our environmental support division. So, of course, you want to know who the money people are in finance, and then you want to know the environmental support people because of the fabulous work that they do. Of interest to you, including the teachers, I'm sure, our ESD is developing significant amounts of content to support, what has already been deployed and really trying to advance the message. I encourage you, if you haven't looked at it yet, to Google EGLE Classroom. It's been rolled out actually kind of early COVID, but that's a new program from our department to develop resources that can support use in classrooms. And we're super excited, of course, to have everything on board. So that'll make it even go further. I firmly believe that we have to increase our communications. And the thread of messages that you've heard from speakers tonight about kids and about people who are frontline and people who, those are our best communicators. Those are the people that really make a difference. So we have to build that pipeline through the work that we're doing. So as you heard from Clay's comments, the governor restructured our department early in 2019, and she made changes to this agency to reflect her top and our top administration priorities. So in our executive order that created EGLE, it created the first ever Office of Environmental Justice Public Advocate, led by the amazing Regina Strong. She is phenomenal. We've done a variety of things on the environmental justice side that are really just a starting point. There's so much more work to do. We formed a multi-agency internal environmental justice response team, as well as an external Michigan Advisory Council on Environmental Justice to guide us and advise our work. We hosted the first Michigan Environmental Justice Conference earlier this year, which was fantastic. EGLE did a nice job of virtual events prior to COVID, and after COVID it just totally took off. I'm very hopeful that we are able to take the good things of our virtual work and keep them as part of our ongoing work going forward, because it is nice to be able to get key content from all across the country. Our Great Lakes PFAS Summit's going on right now, and so we had 8 different countries represented and I think 1,500 people on the line on Monday morning for that. And so just being able to get that content from all over is really important. We did the same thing for our EJ conference. We're working on an environmental justice screening tool, which actually I took a meeting right before coming over here on the work that we were doing there to try to keep that moving. And we're working really hard to make market improvements in meeting Michiganders where they're at. We know that we have more work to do here. I always talk about, when I worked with B Corps and sustainability companies, I learned about the ever-receding horizon of sustainability. I think of it as the ever-receding horizon of communications. We just got to keep working on it. My biggest passion is our Office of Climate and Energy and our climate work with colleagues throughout our department and across state government. That office launches efforts around climate resiliency, promoting efficiency and renewable energy, developing charging stations for electric vehicles. I'm thrilled to be charging at the Fred Keller charging station right now, and also helping school districts with programs like electric school buses, which is one of my favorite programs. We're building the My Healthy Climate Plan right now, which comes out of the governor's commitment to decarbonize Michigan's economy 100% by 2050. The first draft of that plan will come out in January. It's being advised by the Council on Climate Solutions. If you're interested in any of this, or if it's something that you want to share with students, I invite you to check out michigan.gov/climate. All of our meetings are there, all of our presentations are there, everything's recorded, so a great way to go see what we're up to. We had public listening sessions last week. We'll have some more coming up in January too. I know many of you are heavily invested in water issues. We certainly see a strong intersection between protecting our water and climate resilience. Our changing climate is making it painfully obvious that water is precious and also very powerful. We see increasing drought and intense wildfires in parts of the U.S., and I'll get on calls with my colleagues from other states, and they'll be talking about these challenges where we're dealing with the issues of high water and intense storms and flooding, which are showing us how destructive our water can be when not handled correctly. As all of you continue your work to inspire our next generation of water stewards, I hope you will begin to, if you haven't already, incorporate climate resilience into your programs. Issues like non-point source pollution will be heavily impacted by our changing climate and by that extreme weather that we're experiencing. So speaking of water, is the third leg of our public advocacy components that the governor built into the department, the Office of the Clean Water Public Advocate, which is designed to give Michiganders a stronger voice in ensuring that their families have safe and clean water to drink. The governor also launched the My Clean Water Plan, which started at $500 million, which felt pretty astonishing to me to use those words. And now it's creeping up towards $1 billion to reinvest in our outdated drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure. Our failed efforts to invest adequately in water infrastructure across the decades have contributed to a range of problems, from high lead levels in drinking water in many homes, to flooded basements in many of our state's communities, and beach closures on our Great Lakes shorelines. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to invest right now and to give Michigan communities the infrastructure that they need and deserve. These are dollars that need to play out at the local level. While it's federal dollars that are coming to us, taxpayer dollars, state dollars, they're dollars that need to be invested in your backyards. And this is a huge opportunity to protect our water and public health. So speaking of water, nothing unites Michiganders like our love and our commitment to the Great Lakes, inland lakes, rivers, streams, and wetlands. And nothing defines our state and shapes our culture more than those freshwater resources. Our water reminds us that when it comes to the environment, we're all in it together. And the partnerships we've formed to protect our water are a model for solving many of the problems that our state faces. So here at GVSU, with your K-12 partners and other Michigan universities, we see the center of solutions coming forward for these problems. With the Annis Water Research Institute often at the center, GVSU faculty and students at the university level have long played a central role with a state and federal funding in improving water quality in West Michigan and across the state. For example, GVSU has received recent support to conduct surface water sampling and monitoring of the watershed management plans and restoration projects. Places where GVSU's outstanding faculty and well-trained students are doing this work include Crockery Creek, Sand Creek, the Pigeon River, Cedar Creek, Bass River, Deer Creek, and Coldwater Creek, and Buck Creek. And I gotta tell you, there's not a creek that I don't love visiting. I even got a chance to electroshock fish this summer, which was just delightful. I thought the summer of 2020 I was gonna do all this stuff in the field. No. So if you need anybody to electroshock your fish, yeah, that's it. Don't ask my deputy, because he swam more than he shot. In the Muskegon watershed, we know that Dr. Mark Blumenberg from GVSU is assisting in the assessment of impacts by dams in the Muskegon River watershed, and also partnering on beach monitoring projects. You know, this dam work is just so critical and will be a big component of the water infrastructure discussions that we're seeing at the state level. So, Dr. Alan Steinman, one of my favorites, I think I have all of his books, has long been a Great Lakes leading researcher involved in vital work, identifying the need to research and develop regulations to protect our groundwater. On another occasion, member of EGLE team can provide you hours of commentary on the needs and challenges facing groundwater, which is essentially, of course, our sixth Great Lake. To some extent, we don't see the impacts of groundwater because, of course, you know, it's underground. But it's the most important resource, and I think a lot of the non-point source work that is underway under the 319 really helps. So one of the final partnerships I wanted to mention to you, in case you haven't heard about it, is something that EGLE's doing with academic professionals across the state of Michigan at the universities, our COVID-19 wastewater surveillance project. So members of our team with researchers across the state, including other departments, DHHS and others, mobilized in an incredibly short time to put protocols in place to look at where we were seeing virus contamination in communities. And so it's been just a fabulous way through wastewater treatment plants to try to act as a sentinel and support our public health work as we're dealing with the COVID-19 challenge. So there's lots that we can talk about that is connected to the work here at GVSU, in addition to what's happening at Groundswell, but I wanted to mention a few places where we're excited to be overlapping. So from a K-12 perspective, again, you know, we've heard some wonderful things about what's gone on with Groundswell, and I don't want to expand too much further, but I had a couple of things that my team really wanted to make sure that I mentioned. So we heard about the Lower Grand River Education Initiative, which, as Clay stole my thunder, largest EPA Section 319 non-point source pollution program grant, which is phenomenal. And let's get more of the largest EPA grants in state, right? Like, that's a huge opportunity. Bring down as much money as we possibly can. So some of the stats, I don't think he shared some of these. So 34 projects facilitated by 115 teachers in West Michigan. In year 3, the project engaged 2,500 students, which is wonderful. Students have nearly 25,000 hours of hands-on work, and teachers have nearly 3,000 hours of professional development. So I've seen a few of the public service announcements of the 15 that were created, and they're really phenomenal. It's a pretty exciting project, and I love that we can share our pride in that work that's come together. So really, really exciting. So building on this, the Lower Grand River Educational Expanded Network. And you know, I love the translation into Spanish. I think this is such an important part, certainly, of what we prioritize, meeting people where they're at. You all are showing the way through projects like this and moving us forward. Of course, from an EGLE perspective, we love partnering with GVSU on the Students to Stewards program as well. So this came through the Office of the Great Lakes, partnering with GVSU and other state agencies to launch this K-12 effort for STEM learning through the lens of the Great Lakes. Why not? Continue using it, our backyard as a learning place. This project has developed a toolkit of resources, information, and real-world opportunities for students. In 2020, 6 school districts received grants totaling over $55,000 to integrate water literacy principles and place-based education to school curriculum and to expand continuous improvement plans. So we're excited about where this goes in the phase 2 moving forward, and of course, you know, to being able to do some things together. Lest I leave the impression that only science, technology, engineering, and math matter when it comes to water stewardship, Michelle shared this story of an art teacher at one of the Groundswell schools, and I saw the picture. I know it's floating around here, so hopefully not everybody knows the story. But it's an art teacher who wanted to do some environmental education, wasn't quite sure how she fit in. So she felt like, since she didn't teach science, she wasn't sure what she brought to the table. She worked with her students, and they painted stormwater education murals around the storm drains on the school campus. The students wondered if they could enter the idea an art prize and paint a mural on a parking lot in downtown Grand Rapids. Not only was the project accepted, they designed and painted the stormwater education mural, and along the way learned so much about environmental regulations, including using low VOC paints. So if you haven't seen a picture, I think it's over there, but it's a really cool way to again expand on this opportunity to pull together all the different pieces. Phew, with that, let me catch my breath, because it's a lot of important programs that we've already recognized and initiatives to talk about. But I want to conclude by sharing some thoughts about the incredibly important work that is educating our young people in the Great Lakes state about environmental stewardship. So for my role, I gotta say, we have such an incredible need for civic and sustainability-minded adults. We need strong majorities of the coming generations to be informed and thoughtful consumers and citizens. We need them to see how their personal behaviors interact with the world around them. We need them to think about the immense challenges we face today. Imperatives like carbon neutrality by 2050 to avoid most of the catastrophic consequences of climate change, or addressing the myriad stresses on our water resources. We can't get there unless people are thoughtful about their daily decisions and choose to put our shared need for a sustainable planet first when possible. From hearing about the programs so many of you are leading, I know you're fostering that ethic in our children. But relying on people to do the right thing independently has its limits. We're weighing those limits of individual responsibility and behavior change as we work through the My Healthy Climate Plan. I have a strong faith in people, as you've heard from my description of everybody as our 10 million bosses. But I also recognize that we are working right now to inspire massive shifts in behavior. And in my mind, it is inspired because of the generations that come after us, because of our children, our children's children, our children's grandchildren, that concept of seventh generation. We gotta make the right thing as easy and as rewarding as possible. To me, that's the purview of entrepreneurs and policymakers, because policy matters. They can bring together the context, incentives, products, and technologies that are necessary to drive sustainable choices, like some of the businesses that we see on the west side of the state who are really leading. As you engage students, I hope you will challenge them to think about how a market or policy idea might drive solutions to the challenges they're seeing in their hands-on learning about the environment in their communities.